Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalrin, and more stuff was announced for the Void Elves of patch 7.3.5 as well as Battle for Azeroth. First of all, we don't really know exactly when all these allied races will come in. It's surprising how in 7.3.5 there's just so much information, and the fact that we have all the emissaries already out by 7.3.5, it makes us feel like that maybe we'll start getting all of these allied races in 7.3.5, or just at least in the pre-patch of the next expansion, which is exciting. But the more stuff we know about the next allied races, the more stuff we can choose in terms of deciding what class we want to play, what we're going to play next. Some people will stick with the undead rogue that they played since vanilla, but a lot of people will give a try for some of the new races, and Void Elves are very exciting. Not only are they finally given Blood Elves to the Alliance, it's also a new race with its own racials. And while all of these, in a way, the allied races are technically sub-races, because not a lot of them have a new player model or a new skeleton. It's just same skeleton of Night Elves, or I guess for Void Elves is Blood Elves, just with a slightly different physical look as well as the gear. But the racials themselves make such a difference in terms of how you play. For example, a Void Elf and a Blood Elf rogues will play slightly different based on the racial. So stuff like this is very, very important. And I've seen some forum posts on the World of Warcraft website. Some people are saying that Void Elves might be OP. So I just want to talk a bit about Void Elves, discover exactly what their racials are since they got released, as well as ask, are they actually strong and where can they be seen as strong? Racial, Chill of Night, reduces arcane and shadow damage taken by 1%. Pretty standard. Entropic Embrace, your abilities have a chance to empower you with Essence of the Void, and I don't think this one is an actual ability. I think this one allows you to get shadow form when you're in combat, a lot like how Worgen have the transformation between human and Worgen. So I think that's just a visual racial. Ethereal Connection reduces the cost of void storage and transmogrification by 50%. I don't know why I stumbled over the word transmogrification, but this is cool. So if you're somebody who mogs a lot, playing a Void Elf will save you a little bit of penny, and if you're somebody who actually uses void storage, which I don't know a lot of people that do, again, you'll save yourself a pretty penny using that. That's so cool. That's such a unique racial. Pre-Natural Calm. Your spell casts are not delayed by taking damage, and this one is a little bit on the controversial side, because some people are saying that spell casts not delayed by damage might be too strong in some cases for PvE and PvP. Before we go on talking about that one in detail, Spatial Rift is the last one, and yes, that's me. I looked it up on Google. That one is called Spatial, as far as I can get. Open a rift in space and time. Reactivate this ability to teleport through the rift. This one is also kind of controversial, but people kind of knew what the fact that Void Elves were going to have a teleport of short distance, a lot like a Mage Blink. That one is kind of still controversial, but let's talk about the two that are kind of like the big hubbub around the forums. Supernatural Calm. Your spell casts are not delayed by taking damage. The idea of spells having delay because you take damage is kind of like a old school vanilla thing. It was a lot more relevant and important back in the day, and having some abilities that have an absorb, allowing you to get a full cast off, did not basically meant you weren't wasting any globals and you can get a lot more abilities out. And that I guess the knockback of the cast bar was really annoying back in the day. Currently in Legion, it is not that much of an issue. But if you were to take a caster that has the kind of delays and the caster that doesn't have delays, it makes it a little bit hard to decide which one is stronger. In a way, let's say you take a PvE situation and you take two Void Elves. Let's say both of them are Destruction Warlocks and they are in a raid where a lot of damage is going out, so the casts are slightly delayed. If you're looking at a PvE perspective for maximum DPS when it comes to outgoing damage, technically you are more effective with your globals as a Void Elf because of Pre-Natural Calm. Your casts, no matter Chaos Bolts, Incinerates, whatever, are not delayed whatsoever, no matter how much damage goes out, which can be really strong in PvE. In PvP as well, this can be really strong. Imagine mages running around trying to get a few polymorphs back to back as melees are hitting them. When you're melee hitting a mage and mage takes damage from your attacks, that polymorph, which let's say is a 1.6 second cast, becomes a 1.7, 1.8, 1.9. It's really a 0.1, 0.2 difference from your attacks hitting them, as long as they don't have an absorb. But that difference can mean kind of like a life or death in some cases for arenas when it comes to kicks. So when you're playing as a melee, while the cast for a polymorph 1.6 is still fine, having that extra 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 seconds can be the difference between the caster getting off the cast and the melee, you know, getting a little bit extra wait time out of the caster before interrupting them towards the end. Those kind of things a lot of people are expecting in PvP and PvE to be maybe problematic. A lot of people are excited about these changes, and a lot of people are happy with the racials. People just want to make sure that these racials in the long run, when it comes to the nitty-gritty, are not too overpowered. But it's a cool racial. I love the idea. I don't think it'll make it too much of a difference, but it could be a slight possibility that in a raid where there's a lot of AoE damage, casters that are Void Elves might get slightly more damage than casters that are not Void Elves. A lot of people are saying maybe that won't be the issue, but some people are saying that could give you an upper hand, especially in PvP situations. Spatial Rift it depends on the class and the spec you play. If you're an Arcane Mage Void Elf and you have 2 blinks, 1 reverse blink, and then an extra blink because of that reverse, if you add Spatial Rift, you get 2 blinks, reverse blink, back another blink, so 3 blinks, 1 reverse, and a Spatial Rift. That's a lot of mobility. But Spatial Rift, I think, is a cool idea. It's a lot along the lines of the Goblin racial that gives you a little bit more movement. Instead of this one has a delay. First, you open a rift in space and time, and then reactivate the ability to teleport through the rift. They're not exactly saying exactly where the rift is gonna go. It could be completely randomized, or it could be you teleport to the rift, not through the rift. We're not really sure exactly how it's gonna function, but I think for that one is fine. A lot of classes can use a little bit extra mobility, so this can be used as a caster and as a melee. And again, some people are bringing up the idea that, okay, maybe you're a caster and there's, if you're a caster that doesn't really need to move to do most damage, but the movement literally trumps your damage down. Having the extra Spatial Rift allows you more mobility, less time running around not casting spells or using any of your instas. It basically can mean more damage. Again, this is like really nitty-gritty details when we talk about these kind of things, and they're mostly from a PvE perspective rather than a PvP perspective. But I guess you can see how these things apply. Personally, I'm excited for some really new racials that throw in an extra spin. And some of these racials might feel strong, but we don't want the allied races to feel like, I don't know, one of the forgotten races that barely even plays. For example, Pandaren, while they have a cool racial in terms of the paralysis, it's not quite useful in majority of the PvE, PvP situations. In a Mythic Plus, Blood Elves are great, AoE silence is amazing. Tauren, AoE stun is great. Orc is also pretty good just for the damage itself. PvP, more or less, more of the same. I guess Pandaren racial and stuff like that can be niche, can be unique, but this is more of a well-rounded racial that can be used just about anywhere, just about by every class in the game, especially with the incarnation towards, or the inkling towards the casters. A lot of people are just hoping that when it comes to playing Mythic Plus, Void Elves aren't the strongest healers by default. Let's say you have a Discreased Void Elf, and with the Supernatural Calm, with all the AoE damage happening in a Mythic Plus, you might be able to get more globals of your heals, so you can keep your party easier, you can keep your party up easier than some of the others. This is what everybody else is talking about on the forums, and I just kind of want to bring it to you guys' attention, just to give you guys a bit of an idea of what's going on. I personally am excited about these racials. I personally think they should be good to give people more of a reason to try Void Elves and all the other racials. I think all the racials so far have been amazing and unique, and there's even a possibility that after they add all these racials, the original racials for some of the races that we have might even be slightly redesigned in the future. I doubt it, because that means Blizzard would have to take more manpower in order to come up with a design choice for them and implementation, but I think we might see some changes in the future. And of course, I feel like all illustrations, if they are for whatever reason OP, Blizzard will definitely nerf it, so I'm not really all too afraid. I'm actually very excited, and I want to see more of these great ideas implemented for the allied races. So that's really about it. I just want to give you guys my thoughts on the allied races of Void Elves and the racials, because some people thought it was a little bit OP. I am very, very excited for strong racials, and these definitely are some of the strong and interesting racials that we saw in the game, as they take the game's approach slightly differently. A lot like how they have the Lightforged Draenei that when they die they deal AoE damage and heal others, and the High Mountain Tauren in terms of how they just take less damage. I think this stuff is exciting, innovative, and needed in the game. You guys are free to comment below what you think about the Void Elves and the racials if you wanna. I'm personally fine with it, but what do you think? Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a like if you want the channel to grow, as likes seem to promote my videos a lot more to more people. And of course, comment below. I'd like to read what you guys say. Thank you for watching. I'll see all of you in the next one.